My name is Dave Fracchia. I'm Studio Vice President at Radical Entertainment, the makers of Prototype 2.
Can you talk a bit about the universe of Prototype 2, the story, the scenario, the context?
So, Prototype in general is about the virus and how it infects everyone differently. And in Prototype 2, Mercer, the protagonist from the first game, the prototype from the first one, has infected Heller and created a new prototype. But what makes it interesting is that Heller had been an army sergeant and was fighting in Afghanistan, and his wife was in Manhattan when the virus outbreak took place. And he comes back to find out his family has been wiped out by the virus. And so he knows from the military side that Mercer was responsible for letting it go. So he decides he's going to kill Mercer. He's going to die trying, but he's going to find him. Of course, Mercer, now it's 14 months later, he has his own plans, and they involve Heller. Now it's very ironic because Mercer now gives Heller all these powers that Heller can use to bring Mercer down. So the story evolves from there, and we're not saying what happens next, but it sets up a very, very epic battle against Prototype and Prototype. So there are improvements in many, many areas. You know, one of them is the world in general. As you saw, the world looks much richer, much more alive. And also we have a variety in the 3 different zones: the highly infected red zone, the more normal green, and then the quarantine yellow zone. The other part of it is the combat. So we have new powers, for example, the tendrils, which are great powers for ripping things apart or collapsing together, as you saw, and also the biobomb as well. And even in terms of combat, we've tried to improve the strategy around combat. So now enemies are affected differently by different types of attacks. If you go to a tank with claws, it's almost like a knife of steel. It doesn't really do as much damage. But a hammer fist, even though it's slower, will really do a lot. And when it comes to going with people or creatures, you know, claws and blades are good because they slice through flesh. So you start to think about which powers you want to use. And also, when someone's attacking you, you can tell when an attack is going to come. So if it's a creature, they might wind up before they come in, so you can try and get out of the way. If it's rockets or anything coming from the side or behind, you'll see lasers and then a sound. So you have a chance now to dodge out of the way or block with your shields. And as you upgrade your shields, you can deflect the rockets back as well again. And then on the non-combat side, there are things like our stealth consume system. So before, you could stealth consume people just in front of anyone. Now if you try and stealth consume someone, we want to make sure no one's watching. If someone's watching, you can't. So now you have to go, you know, say, oh, I want to get you. Well, he's watching. Well, I have to make sure I can get him first, as long as you don't see him. And then go get someone else first. And then when I'm free, I can finally go after my target. And then hunting. So in the previous game, as you walk through the world, you would see people with icons over their head, and you consume them for memories. But now you get the name of a target, and you have to find them. So being able to use that human sonar to find them feels like such a predator. And in the end, it's really that choice of how you want to tackle your objective.
Did improvements come from feedback from the consumers, or is it ideas from the studio? Did you take into account the feedback of consumers more or less?
Oh, in fact, it was both. We spent the first while looking at critical reviews, at user blogs, our own internal postmortems, and so we got a lot of feedback about what people really loved, because you don't want to lose the things people really love. You want to make them better, and the things that people may have been more critical about. So we did take that definitely into account. And then, of course, the imagination of the people in the studio itself. So, you know, when it comes to things like new powers and new abilities, in many cases, fans may suggest things, but we hadn't seen anyone suggest the tendrils. And that was certainly something that came from the crazy minds at Radical. So, you know, I just think it's very much both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, merci.